Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. It looks like we are live. As you know, I'm going to just set up my tools and make sure that everyone is viewing. I'm super excited. Let's see if we can get onto Facebook. Give me 1 second here, folks, because I'm not seeing it. Try this one more time. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. 1 second. There we go. Okay, let me just change the setting and we are live. Hello, everyone. I am so excited. This is Lisa Marie Aird with Campus Bound GPS October Tips. This is a program where every day in the month of October, Campus Bound GPS is going to bring students and parents a tip about the college application process. And my name is Lisa Marie Aird. I'm the Collegiate Success Coach for Campus Bound GPS. And we started October Tips 7 years ago. And it started as, let's try and put ourselves out there so that we can do a service to students and parents out there. And 7 years later, here we are. I'm excited because it's an effort of love, it's a passion, and we are here to serve you. So we're on day 3. Day 1, we focused on the fact that it was October 1st and FAFSA is open. So those of you who have seniors in high school who are looking to go to college, and uh, school students who are already in college, you need to really fill out FAFSA early. So it's open, so time to start. And last night we had an extraordinary program with Pamela Sams of Jackson Sams Wealth Strategies. She's a financial advisor, and I call her the Campus Bound GPS FAFSA expert. She is our resident FAFSA expert, and she provided a lot of information, especially the changes that are happening for the 23-24 FAFSA season. So if you didn't get an opportunity to look at it, take a look at it. It's on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. So just choose your platform and take a look and just soak that knowledge in. And if you have any questions, just post in the comments. But let's get to tonight. We are on day 3. Yay! And so over the last couple of months, there have been parents who have been coming up to me and asking, what is my role? What do we do? How do we move? So what I'm trying to do is, you might see a lot of parents on the program this month for the 2022 season, because I want parents' perspectives to just try to figure out some of the things, you should do. So tonight, I know I promoted our guest, Shanika Turner, who is a parent of a current sophomore in college. But we had a surprise guest just join us, and I said, you know what? Come on, the more the merrier. Let's share the wealth, let's share the knowledge, let's share the tips. So I also like to introduce Antoinette Johnson, and she is a parent. Her students are her children are grown, but she's been through the college application process a couple times over, and just to know the power of guidance and the power of sharing information, here's how the dialogue will go. So without further ado, I want to introduce Shanika Turner and Antoinette Johnson. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa Marie, for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with you, Shanika. Share your tip.
My tip is to start early. Start talking about college and what college means for your child as early as middle school. Do you want to go to college? Do you want to go to a college that is here next to mom and dad? Do you want to go far away? Then you'll be surprised what your children will say. They have big dreams and they may say, I want to go to Europe. But the key is to start having those conversations early as possible.
Okay, so Antoinette, you're shaking your head.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely aligned with that. As you mentioned, my students, and I'm doing air quotes, are in their 30s now. But I remember always having a conversation about higher learning with them. And at that time, my husband was in law school. So they were around this thing called, you know, staying up late and that education space that we were both in. And the conversation happened early. And to Shanika's point, it helped guide us over the next couple of years outside of middle school for where they ended up landing. So I definitely agree with you, Shanika. That conversation should start very early.
So you mentioned middle school. So what does a middle school conversation about college sound like?
Well, a middle school conversation sounds like listening to what their hobbies are and investigating if the college offers a summer camp there. And so when you start talking about, well, I like coding, right? My daughter's a coder. I like coding. Would you like to go to a camp on coding? Sure. Well, this university or this college is offering a summer camp. And it really was, oh, I can go there. I can be there at the college. And as Antoinette said, there were a lot of older siblings or cousins that had already gone to college. And so she was like, oh, there's my opportunity to go to the college. And
You
so
know,
she got excited.
the interesting thing about that, I used to work for George Mason University, and they had a program. I think my son was in middle school at the time too. And I invited him to come, but this time it was kind of like mommy's job. And he, it was an advanced math class. And I remember, and this was a heartbreaking story. So we drive up to the school, and he's ready. He's ready to go to class, and we go halfway. So I park the car. We go halfway, and he knows the direction in which to go, and he just goes off. And I'm like, "What are you doing? You got to give me a kiss goodbye." I got the quickest kiss and the fastest sprint so that he can be with his friends in this advanced class. But it was on the college campus. And I really didn't think about it at the time, but I guess that was his first exposure, even though, like I said, it was mommy's job, but it's still exposure to a university setting.
Exactly. Exactly. Sometimes, and I'm going to hand this off to Antoinette. Sometimes, if you have an athlete, they get the opportunity to explore a lot of college campuses because of their meets. And so that's where that conversation can go, where it's okay, when you graduate, maybe this is a college that you may want to go to.
Yeah, Shanika, you're spot on. So both of my children are student athletes, and for the track experience that they had, they did a couple of different sports. Many of those track meets were at universities, and the university that my son ended up getting a scholarship to, but also wanting to go to, was University of South Carolina because we went to Penn Relays when he was around 11 or 12. He did earn a medal there. And I remember him being in the stands watching that school because at that time they were fantastic. They're still pretty good. And he said, I want to go to that school. And he was not in high school yet, right? So, to your point, it is definitely that exposure that helps with the dialogue, not necessarily, parents pushing that agenda, but really being able to have that constant, open, transparent dialogue about that as an option.
I
Okay.
agree.
So
I agree.
I'm gonna throw this little wrench in there a little bit. So all of us are we attended college. So our children can get that conversation from our experiences. What advice would you have, and how can a parent start exposing their child early for those parents who did not attend college?
So that's a great question. I would recommend, just like on a summer day or a fall day, to go and explore a college campus. Have a picnic, walk the campus with the student, and just talk about what they are interested in. You'll pass through many buildings. Sometimes you're allowed to go in the museums or the libraries of the universities. It's a really good day trip. I would start there. I would also keep a log of, okay, we went to this university. And what are the things that you liked about this university? Did you like that it was huge, or did you not like the fact that we had to walk, across campus and up the hills, or there weren't enough people? I remember taking my daughter on many college tours. We started really looking at the colleges, I would say, in her sophomore year of high school, and we would take road trips. We started, of course, with those in Maryland that were right here that she would drive by all the time. But it's a difference when you're walking the campus and you're talking to the students and you're eating the cafeteria food. Because there were some that she was just like, I'm going to go to this school because they have great food. That was her checking the box on the things that were important to her. So we kept a log on the things that were important to her, and then I, in a counseling position, would share what was important to me.
So I like what you just said, keeping a log. So what does a log look like? Did you have like a notebook that is like 6 years old, because by the time you started in elementary school, you still have this notebook? What does it look like?
So I actually had a college book, and it talked about, and there's plenty out there on the market. It actually talked about your day starts today. Today is the first day of high school. And it gave her an opportunity to journal, about what she was feeling, the good, the bad, the ugly. And it actually mapped out, it had a map inside of it of all the states that you explored in your college visits. And then she could journal about the different colleges. But you could do this in a composition notebook.
Nice.
Now, I also had a spreadsheet, but that was mama bear mode, and one of the things I love about my parent mentor, Antoinette, is when I said I had a spreadsheet, she said, I did too. And so we kind of chuckled about that.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
want to hear about these spreadsheets. What were things on the spreadsheet?
You want to take it, Shanika?
I mean, my spreadsheet was strictly parent spreadsheet. So, of course, we're looking at the distance, the cost, the size of the university, all of those factors, the rating, the ranking of the school, the programs that, knowing her interests, that could best suit her.
And my spreadsheet that I had a little bit of that as well, but there was a section on it that I had for the kids. Now, I wasn't probably as organized as Shanika, where I started my spreadsheet when the scholarship offers were coming in. It got way overwhelming. We just didn't know like what we were going to do, and we needed to sort of prioritize. Okay, what are the pros and cons to these schools, and what are the things that you, and this is to my son, what are the most important things to you? So we kind of worked on that part of the spreadsheet together, and we were able to kind of drill down to like his top three. And of course, it helped with some of the questions that we asked, and that was very helpful. But you know, just to kind of piggyback on that spreadsheet conversation, I want to get back to what you said about someone that didn't go to college and may not have had that experience. I feel like what Shanika is talking about and what I'm talking about, it comes with the fact that we kind of sort of experienced some of that already. What I would say is, you know, the schools that the kids go to may also be providing and socializing them already. So that may be an opportunity to have the dialogue. You know, if your students are in middle school and you're going to parent teachers conference and you're meeting with guidance counselors, find out, you know, what kind of dialogue is happening in school. And if no dialogue is happening, you can be a little bit proactive. And we used to kind of factor in visiting schools when we were going to track meets. So we would like add on a day or two to vacations, because we ended up going all over the country. We decided, you know, well, we're in New Orleans, we might as well check out this school. And so there was a lot of that happening. But I think talking to the schools, guidance counselors to get some insight, but also just being a little bit proactive in your traveling. Most of us take our children somewhere. And if those states do have universities that may be of interest, then you can tie that into your vacation time and by adding a day or two for visits.
I would add something else. You'd be surprised how many community organizations do college tours. The YMCA does the spring break college tour, and sometimes you can get a scholarship that will pay for your student to go on the college tour. And so it goes back to starting early and having those conversations. The conversation is for both the parent and the student, because the parent cannot go on that college tour. And the parent has to be okay to let the student go on the tour. And if you're starting early with allowing your student to go to camps, to do overnight trips where they're going to take all those life lessons that you've taught them, they will be fine. If not, they will call on the 20 cell phones that they have now. But it may be sometimes that parent Antoinette is going and I may not be able to go, but I am very comfortable with partnering with her to allow my student that opportunity. Because if you're serious about them going to college, at some point they are going to go to the college and you cannot go there with them.
Great point. I want to go backwards a little bit because I do have a workshop that I give, the parent conversation, and you said something that triggered a part of my workshop. So you have your conversation and your spreadsheet with your child, and your child interprets things a little differently. So, really having clear conversations with your child is important so that you both are on the same page as a family.
Interesting. So this is what I am living now. Okay. Because there is my plan and then there is the student's plan. And this is where the relationship will shift a little. It's healthy, it should shift. And at some point, the student will be leading this discussion. By the senior year, because again, there were all of these books out there. I mean, it's kind of like if you have a baby now, you have all these gadgets, but there were these books that would support those discussions with my daughter. And so by the time we're in junior, senior year, and she's narrowing down that long list, I'm like, okay, where do you want to go? And she's saying that university I want to go to. Then I am getting her on a plane and taking her there because that's her decision. Because if I force her to go over to that university, she may not be comfortable and it may not be successful for her.
So,
So
you
there
said
has
a
to be a
plane.
balance. Mhm.
Are we talking of a far distance here?
Oh, I did. I put my daughter on a plane, her and I, to San Diego. That was her number one choice. Now I knew as the mom that she wasn't going to go there because it's pretty far, but I needed her to come to that conclusion. Great school. It hit all the markers, and we got there, and she navigated through the whole experience. She had set up meetings with the chair, and we took public transportation. She scored an A. But when it came down to it, she decided that she wanted to be a little bit closer just in case mom needed her. Oh, okay.
I like that. And I like the way that you gave yourself the opportunity to shift. I like that word, shift to one side so that she can be in charge. She did her research. She came to the conclusion because I think that is super important when children, and I will say children in this case, because you're dealing with 16, 17, 18-year olds, are making a decision that can be the trajectory for the rest of their lives. It's an important choice. And you really, what I tend to do when I speak to the students that I'm coaching is do your research so you can place yourself in a position to be successful by choosing and selecting the school that's the best fit for you, which means that you have to do your research. You cannot attend a school because my best friend is going there, or in my case, I liked the basketball team, so I wanted to go to St. John's University back in the day. And I didn't end up going there, but I was really enamored by the basketball team because they had a great team. We have to really be serious in selecting the schools that we choose to spend 4 years in and money on, and you know the connections we make, and it's a lot that goes into those 4 years. So I really applaud the fact that your daughter did research, and I tout that, really do the research. It's very important.
Now, I want to add something because I think Shanika's plan is probably the benchmark and the gold star. But if you think about some people, they don't have that foresight. They may be hover moms. They may have children that may not be as independent and as comfortable making decisions on their own. So when you have all of that, when you're saying the right things, when you're trying to set up this play, because this is a strategic play, of course, for, like you said, Lisa, the next several years of their lives, but it doesn't work, right? For whatever reason, you may have a child that they just want to be with their really good friend and they're listening to all the things you're saying. But my daughter, for example, she's someone that has to feel the thing for it to make sense to her. She's not the type of person that I can just say, "Hey, I think you should do this," and she said, "Okay, mom, I'm going to do that." She's got to go through it. Whereas my son, on the other hand, to this day, anything we tell him, he's like, "Okay, mom and dad." He's very open to following and guidance. So what I would say is, if you happen to have a child like my daughter who really wanted to be independent, because you got to remember, this is 16 and 17-year-olds, right? Many of them, if they're not shy and reserved, they want to own themselves. They want to be decision makers. And they're starting to do that in other ways. And we all know the world of a 16, 17, and 18-year-old in your house. If you happen to have a child that says, "Look, I know what you're saying, mom, but I'm going to be fine," or "Dad, I'm going to be fine. I want to go here." What I think should also happen is that conversation about, if you go here, let's hope everything works out. But here are the potential things that you will have to deal with. Number one, you may not like it. Now you're going to have to think about transferring. Now, the good news is, for first year students, you're taking a lot of those gen ed classes anyway, right? But it also sets you back. So it's showing them the risk. I mean, as adults, we understand that word, but we're having that dialogue to say, okay, you want to make that decision. Here are the potential pitfalls. Now, let's hope that none of this happens, but you're setting up the play so that when and if it does happen, you can say, okay, let's readjust, because it's also not the end of the world.
Yes.
The other thing I realized back in the day, I didn't think about it, but now that I look back, I think about it. There's a lot of pressure on kids. You know, when they leave your house and go into those doors of school, there's a lot. Everybody in junior year is talking about what college are you going to. It's like the thing. And if you haven't really under, you know, if a child doesn't really know yet, that's pressure for them. Then we as parents, we're also having the conversation, and we don't intend it to be pressure. We're just trying to help, but I also look at the vantage point of the student. They may be thinking that is as well. So my perspective is allow some flexibility where you can, because that is all a part of life. There are decisions that they're going to make, even as adults after they graduate, where they're going to have to pivot or shift, to use Shanika's term, and but they still will come out okay. So I just wanted to
Yes.
add that little
Yes.
insight for the child that might be out there like my daughter.
Yes, and I totally agree with you, Antoinette. I think that really needs to be seeped in by the parent. It is going to be okay. And I used to tell my daughter, at the end of the day, honestly, whatever school you choose, you're going to be great. It's going to be your school. And so another exercise that we used to do was she would pitch her schools. Tell me why. If you can't sell it to me, then what? I didn't care if she said, because all my friends are there. She knew I would have a question after, like, okay, are these really cool friends? Do you see these friends going to be around like my friends in your late 40s? You know, I made it fun. I made it comfortable for her to tell me what was really important to her. It wasn't always the ranking of the school. It was usually the stuff at the bottom of the parents list that she was selling me on. But as it got closer, she felt more confident in her selection. And that was the goal, that she felt good about the school she selected so that she could own it and it would be her university.
And I love that because at the end of the day, our goal as parents is to ensure that this is their home for the next 4, depending on the major, 5 years, and they stay there and they don't go there and say, I don't like the school, I want to go back home. And I'll be honest, I love my university. Freshman year is tough.
Oh, we could, oh, you want to talk about freshman year?
Ugh, I had a moment,
Whoa.
and I will say I love my HBCU. I love Hampton University. I was on a work study program. I was missing New York, and one of my managers came to me and it was like, okay, let's have a conversation because why do you want to go? Why do you want to go back? I said, well, I got enrolled in St. John's. I was there, so I can just go back there and I could be home. And he explained to me the difference between a larger university and the environment that Hampton had has, because it still has it, and how I might the person that I might get lost in the shuffle versus getting the nurturing that I needed to be successful. And I stopped and I thought and I said, okay, let me embrace, because I was super shy. I remember one of my classmates mates saying, wow, when you walk across campus, you're like this, and you just walk to your class. And that's how I was, because I was afraid to speak to anyone. But I had cool friends, my folks in my dorm, my girls. We were great, but it's like once I got outside those walls, I probably had a little anxiety and was shy and didn't want to talk to anybody and but you gradually get there. And I think the campus that you choose is the one that is going to build you, grow you, make you the person that you are today. So, or will be in the future, I should say, since we're talking about our students. But, you know, if I didn't experience all of that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
So I
And yeah, it's amazing.
so I have to agree. I'm going through a little bit of that right now. So, my daughter went to a very small high school. Her graduating class was probably 65 girls. And so most of the schools that she was looking to go to were San Diego, NYU. She wanted that Sex in the City. I'm going to be walking down the street, not a campus. It was just city life. And I knew that that was going to kind of be a stretch and be a bit overwhelming. So she settled on Howard University, still in the city, but not as large as in NYU or San Diego. But she does experience what you're talking about. But what I will say is that there is some guidance that the parents should be providing, because if the student has not been exposed to living outside of home, freshman year can be very, very difficult. And it's important that if you believe that you're going to support your student to go further than an hour away, that you start exploring those opportunities during the summer or organized sports or whatever it is where they can stay away from home without mom and dad to be able to get that feeling. It would be very traumatic for the first time away from mom and dad would be freshman year. The other thing that I would say is that you have to allow your student to not feel comfortable, right? They should be stretching a little bit. And so some of the school choices, I don't want you to go to the university behind our house because you can get home in 15 minutes. Of course, if you see the need for that, yes, but there should be some stretch. Um, and one thing I remember about the University of San Diego, the college admissions director said, okay, I know your major, but what's your hobby? What are you going to do in the other X amount of hours while you're here? Because home is far away. And my daughter was in the arts. She did a lot of the school plays. She ran the tech board. And so he said, I strongly encourage that you continue and support the drama team or the drama school in doing their productions. Doesn't have to be your major, but you definitely need a hobby because that's what's going to motivate you to stay in school. The major is going to be there. You got to get the degree, but the hobby, the swimming, the track, whatever it may be, is going to make you smile and get up every day and push through.
I like that. I like that. I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to add, I think that is a important point. Many of us and the students that are going to school now, if they really don't have sort of a grounding in that first year, it will be tough. Now, thankfully, my son was part of a track team. And what happens is when you go to, for especially most sports, especially for D1 schools, you're kind of brought into the school early. And even though you're on, in his case, this huge campus, he still had like this very small cocoon of support. He had the coaches, it's the team. They fly every week to a different state together. They had people that's with them, kind of coaching them and keeping them aligned. But if you don't have a sport, I think what Shanika said is spot on. You definitely have to figure out what you're going to do, and really, those conversations should be happening in high school. So both of my kids participated not only in you know athleticism, but they also had volunteer things that they did at the school. My son was a tutor. He was really good in math. My daughter also did some things outside of her playing volleyball that I think helped both of them, number one, on their application, because they could display that even though they were smart and they did good in this sport, that they had hobbies and other things that they like to do. Um, and when they went to school, they were able to get into those other things when they had free time, and they didn't feel like they were homesick. That's the piece. And then being able to help them create that network. Many of us, I know I do, I still have those same friends to this day. I'm 53 years old, that when I moved into my dorm, I got a knock on my door. There's these two girls that came and said, "Hey, do you want to go to get lunch?" And I'm like, "Okay, from New York. I don't really like know you, but okay." And we're still friends to this day. So I think it's important to share those hobbies, but also creating that network early on, when they get on campus, so that they're able to really navigate and feel comfortable being away from home.
You
Yeah.
know, Antoinette, let me tell you what they have now. It's so exciting. They have apps out there where students can get in a huddle together ahead of time and start talking about their hobbies and their likes. And they have these
Oh,
groups. It's fascinating.
So I'm going to put in a plug, and I'm really trying to remember the name of it. But one of my friends, hit her son or their son, created an app that does that.
Yes.
And oh my goodness, I wish I could remember. So now I got to remember. I got to find out what the name of the app is and talk about it tomorrow, probably.
My
But
daughter
yeah,
said she was chatting with her roommate, and I'm like, "What roommate?" And she was like, "My roommate at the university I'm going to," like 6 weeks ahead of time, which is
wow.
so great. I mean,
I
it
love that.
eases the anxiety.
yes, it does. It
And I think that's also important. And, to circle back, even what I like about this conversation is, yes, we are speaking to parents today. We are guiding you to start early. But I also, if there are some students listening on, yeah, if you know that your next step out of high school is college, then have that conversation with your parents. We're giving parents guidance, but if you're listening, if you're eavesdropping, and I hope you are, now you're hearing some conversations that should be happening.
so
Doing your research.
so for the students that are listening, start early. What starting early looks like is Khan Academy, an hour a day will get you scholarship money. There may be students out there that are saying, my parents can't afford to send me to school. Volunteering is a big deal. On your college application, you can say, I'm this athlete, I scored this on my SAT, but in addition, I have 1,000 hours of volunteering. They're going to look for that. You have to be a whole student. And so, for those students out there, continue to find opportunities to lead organizations, the clubs at your high school, sometimes external community organizations, be a big brother at the YMCA or a big sister, but put yourself out there, and Khan Academy.
Yes, yes. Okay, so this has been a wealth of information. I love today's conversation. I love today's tip. Start early. Start the conversations. Start that family conversation early. Um, let's do a wrap up. Any last words for Antoinette? I'm gonna start with you because you're a surprise guest. So any last parting sage words, since you are the parent mentor here?
Okay, well, I would say last words would be, it's going to be okay. And this would be for both the parents and the student. Um, we are having these conversation, and this forum is excellent, and I appreciate you having me here. But it's also everybody's journey is unique. And whatever decision everyone on this call decides to make with their student is their decision and should not be looked upon as right or wrong. If you do your due diligence, things will work out. So I would say things are going to be just fine. Just have faith.
I love it. And I'll put in a plug. Antoinette will be back um, as the guest in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned. Okay, Shanika.
So I'm going to remind folks, start early, but your start is your start. It is your journey. So if you're starting early is, oh my goodness, I'm a junior, then that is your starting early, and own it. Your college selection is your college selection, and own it. As long as you give 100% to whatever university you end up at, it's going to be amazing. And parents, it's going to be okay to allow them to lead. Your plan may not be their plan. And the goal is to have them just articulate what their plan is and support them.
I love this conversation. So, wow. So this week we spoke about the money, and now we're speaking. Let me say this before I wrap up. The foundation of Campus Bound GPS is MAP, mindset, awareness, and preparation. And today, I think we kind of focused a little bit on mindset and preparation because you really have to make that shift in your thoughts in order to do these things that we're doing to prepare your students to be the best that they can be. So we are going to have more in about 2 days. There is going to be a conversation about mindset, especially for parents. Um, Tomorrow, I'm going to start my mindset conversation for students, and I'm going to continue towards the end of the week as well. But I love these poignant conversations. I think we're spot on, and that's what we're here. So this is a wrap for day 3. Um, thank you, Antoinette. Thank you, Antoinette, for jumping on. And thank you, Shanika, for
Thank you,
sharing
Miss
your
Marie.
words and your experiences. Um,
Thank you.
oh, we do have some folks who are watching. Um, Oh, I will put a plug in. So Monique Smith is on, and she said, "Love that you are on this platform. This year is the first year that I am on LinkedIn, so I'm excited about that. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube." And Latika Vine said, "Looking forward to continuing the conversation." So yes, we are going to continue the conversation, and I know Latika has some young ones, so start today. And I'm going to close us out with thank you. Thank you for watching Campus Bound GPS October Tips. We just concluded day 3. We have a lot more to go because we're heading towards 31. And I am super excited to just continue the conversation according to Latika. So thank you and good night and be safe.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.